Welcome to episode 2 of a very interesting interview with Mr. Maroun Chammas, CEO of Berytech, and lots of other titles, but you can watch episode 1 for that. Maroun, last time we were discussing a little bit overall, and we ended up our discussion on what was needed in the education sector to boost engineering and some initiatives. For example, Berytech was taking, for example, in the pharmacy sector. What's Berytech? It's a big galaxy. Maybe you can take us into this a little bit.
Berytech is not a big galaxy. Berytech is, first of all, an initiative from the St. Joseph University that started some 16 years ago. And the idea of the university, and here I have to praise, people with a vision. The idea was that, we have people that are educated in Lebanon. Once they finish the university, they have a choice. Either they get employed, or by a company in Lebanon, or abroad. They leave and they find some job outside. But there was no structure to help entrepreneurs, to help people that wanted to start their business, to help them through the difficult period of the beginning of a journey as entrepreneurs. And as you know, 80% of entrepreneurs, they fail the first year. But if they are supported and surrounded, and they are let's say, encadré I was trying to find the French word in English. If they are, surrounded and supported, they can, the chances of success are just increases by 80%. So they did a study, and they looked around, and they found that the way to go was to start an accelerator, an incubator actually. And Berytech wanted to be to have 3 components: the incubator, the accelerator for enterprises, and the hosting, because you have those 3 phases in a life cycle of a company, and it's good to have in the same environment the 3 different phases. Why? Because when you incubate a company, the company can learn a lot from the accelerator process, and hosting a company that is hosted can support and can help and can, let's say, give a lot of advice for a company that's incubated. It's an ecosystem. So this is how it started. But then, very quickly, because the environment is dynamic, and because Berytech is dynamic, we started realizing that we needed to do more than that. And we looked at what are the needs of the entrepreneurs, and we saw that there was a big need for equity money. Equity money is totally different from a loan and from a bank loan and so on. And back then, people did not know the difference, They just wanted money. They didn't know how to proceed and what to do with that. And banks, when you used to go to banks, you had to put a collateral. So it was very difficult. But then came kafalat, and kafalat really helped a lot in the ecosystem. But that was not sufficient, because even if you have kafalat will help you the first phase. What do you do next? You still cannot borrow money from the banks. So you needed equity money, and equity money acts as a levier,
it pushes you forward.
It pushes you, because you can use the equity money, to go and get a loan from the bank. So this is how the ecosystem, you complete the puzzle of the ecosystem. And then we started the first fund, which was from private money, not from 331. I put some money in, and I called the banks, and I said, look, we have this project, and we need your support. And they did support us. And don't forget that there are, in Berytech, the initial Berytech, there are 17 shareholders, and those are banks and private institutions. So they were eager to help. And then this led, a couple of years after that, this led to the 331. Circular 331 of the BDL that we are continuing today. So basically that's it. And then when you have the proper governance, and when you have the proper management in place, donors, because a lot of countries want to help Lebanon and want to help Lebanon economically. So they come to Lebanon and they want to talk to someone that has the setup. So they come to us and they see that what we have is something solid. So they trust us with their money because we deliver. As Berytech, we deliver on the promises that we do. So basically, that's it.
So how would you define Berytech in one sentence?
Okay, so Berytech is a structure. So because many companies inside Berytech that help Lebanese entrepreneurs and Lebanese SMEs, so it's startups and SMEs, to accelerate. Basically, that's it. By creating the right and the conducive environment, whether it's on premises or off premises. So we have 3 campuses today, and we have a 4th one coming up in Amshit at the beginning of 2019. And we have also all the programs that are here to help entrepreneurs, whether it's Agritech, my colleague Rami spoke about it a bit earlier, whether it's the LED project, whether it's things to do with USAID program as I Am Capital, and so on and so forth.
Let's focus a little bit, and we're going to get back to the other elements of Berytech on the fund aspect. So you just stated there's I Am Capital as a matching, but there's the Berytech Fund.
Yes.
Berytech Fund one went from I think you had $6 million you had raised.
The first one.
The first one, and now
the second one, almost 51 million.
$50 million.
Yeah.
What changed between many things have happened between there was a basically earthquake of entrepreneurship happening in Lebanon between Berytech 1 and Berytech 2. What do you think was the major changes, and how do you view that change in the ecosystem?
The central bank, with the support of Minister Nicolas Sahnawi and Minister Khairuddin, Maroun Chammas, I went with them to the central bank, and we met several times with the governor, and he said, okay, what do we need to do in Lebanon to encourage entrepreneurship? And we said we need funds, we need money, we need equity money. The banks are not responsive to that because it's, first of all, not their business to lend to entrepreneurs. They don't know how to do it. And then it's risky. So the governor came up with this scheme, which is the Circular 331. And this made available more than $400 million to the ecosystem, which was the greatest push you can think of. So that was, Berytech Fund 1 was, if you want, the cornerstone to set up additional funds for the entrepreneurs in Lebanon in terms of technology. So he built this circular, and he had some specific requests. It had to be in technology, it had to be value added, it had to be in the creative sector. So, and this is how it all started.
I'm going to get back to 331, but Berytech 1, how many investments did you do? 15?
Yeah, something like 15 investments.
Around 15?
Yeah.
I read that there were 3 exits.
There were 3 exits, 3 failed, so that's 6 or 4 failed, 3 exited, and we're still waiting for the remaining.
The 3 that you exited, were there successes?
Yes,
you consider
they all were.
In hindsight,
Yeah. They were. We invested on average. We did 2.5 times the investment, which is very acceptable.
Okay, that's on these startups, but as a portfolio overall,
we need to wait for the rest of the companies to exit. Now, lessons learned from that is that, first of all, whenever you start something from scratch, it takes more time. Okay, even in my opinion, 331 is from scratch. Okay, because it's serious funding, and what we did was like a test with $6 million. Normally, it was supposed to be six years, the fund. We're now at our 10th year, okay? So it means that things, take more time than, but there are some explanation to that. First of all, the first 2.5 years, we did just 1 investment, okay? It was taking a lot of time for entrepreneurs to understand that this is not a loan, and we are equity partners. And this means that, you need to submit you need to submit
a business plan,
and you need to submit the financials, and you need to declare properly, and you need to have projections, and so on and so forth. Because the understanding of in Lebanese entrepreneurship at the beginning, I'm talking about 9 years ago, 8 years ago, was that, okay, you give me money and I'll tell you what I'm going to do with it. It's not that. It's you tell me what you're going to do, and then I will see if I give you money. So this, it takes time to explain that. So now I think people understand that, and that's why we see things moving in the right direction. But it's still going to take some time. It's still going to take a lot of, beating up the whole environment, because nothing is easy. And if we want to compete, we're competing against international companies, international entrepreneurs. We're competing against the French, the Americans, the Chinese, the Singaporeans, the Saudis, the Dubais. I mean, and it's not easy. But at the end, if we can position Lebanon and show and prove that Lebanon is really a good place in terms of the environment and in terms of the resources and the people, then, we would have won a new sector.
Two main complaints we always hear about the funds in Lebanon, not specifically the Berytech Fund, but overall the ecosystem. The first one comes from, I would say, the BDL itself, that you guys, and I'm talking here your head as a fund fund managers, are not collecting the right data and not providing data. This is public money or semi-public money, I don't know how we can call it. And where is the data? And how are you spending the data? Two, from the entrepreneurs saying, well, the funds in Lebanon just are not taking risk, especially when they've raised 331 money. They're not taking the proper risks. What's your take on these 2 points?
Let me answer one by one. First of all, the funds have now organized themselves in an association, which is for venture capital and capital risk, which is good, okay? Because we're all together, we sit around the table and we discuss all the problems.
Which in itself is an achievement.
Itself is an achievement, and vis-a-vis of the central bank and the international, let's say, instances, there is one body that speaks for the, and I'm the president, by the way. Just add to the
another hat.
Another hat. But seriously, I'm going to clarify a point that you've said. The data is there. Every single fund, first of all, all the funds are respected people. The people who manage those funds are all very respected and well-known people. So no one wants to take on his account or to have, people finger pointing saying, they did something bad, okay? So this is out of the question. There is no bad management or bad, but the format, it's all a matter of format. We all have the data, but the format that the central bank wants is in a certain way. Because it's a learning curve, and because we are all in the same, we all started about the same time, and because there was no specific format that was given by the central bank at the beginning, like 3-4 years ago, then you're here in the city in Beirut. They don't have the data. They're not organized. No, we are organized and we have all the data. But the granulation and the way to present this to the central bank is specific, and we're working on it, and we've achieved a lot. And I think we're all now talking, if you want, the same language as the central bank, because you see, entrepreneurs and VCs, their view of the management of the fund is a bit different. We see it as a whole, a whole unit. We see obviously each company individually, but at the end of the day, it's a risk that that we are managing, and the risk we manage it by the number of companies, by the industry that we invest in, by...
It's a portfolio management.
It's a portfolio management. So we view it as a whole. The bank, the central bank, wants to view it, or the different people, they want to view it one by one. Okay, so you might lose in 100%, but, and in some you might gain 50%.
But what's the central bank afraid of? What's the central bank afraid of?
The central bank, I think, is afraid. They want to make sure that there is no abuse, basically. They want to make sure that the money was not taken to be used, first of all, in a different sector or a different area. Let's say, I don't know.
This happens in Lebanon?
Or this happens in Lebanon? Not in our case. It's not happening. But also, there was some, if you want, some perception that, we are all working in businesses that are, or products and services that are meant for the outside world. I mean, outside world meaning not the Lebanese market, because this is where the market is, everywhere else. Here we do the development, we do the testing, but if we want to be successful, we need to be able to do a product or service that's accepted by international consumers. So to do that, you need to spend a lot of money outside of Lebanon. And that was a bit the tricky part. How much of that money that the central bank is giving are you allowed to invest outside of Lebanon? Okay, in development, in business development, in product development, in packaging, in marketing, and so on. And this is where, it was a little blurry, okay? But with the discussions that we have had with the central bank and with the Banking Commission authority, I think we have reached a certain understanding on what needs to be done.
So today, if I get 331 money as an entrepreneur,
yes,
am I allowed to spend that money outside of Lebanon?
Okay. Again, you have to be very careful. When
We're
you
here
say
to say the tough things today.
when you say yes, when you say you are allowed, okay, it's a matter of how and where and how much. Okay, so you have to be very specific. You have to be very specific.
But can a fund manage that when your job is not to manage a company?
Exactly. This was one of the issues we had, is that when we provide money for the entrepreneurs, we cannot tell him, okay, or her, yes, of course. We cannot tell her, you can only spend this and you can only do this and you can only that, because they're going to come back and say, wait a minute, it's not the way entrepreneurs function and it's not the way business function. But we understood at the end is what worries the central bank. They just want to know how and where, mostly, okay. But again, we're tackling this in a way to we provide information that provide feedback. We provide information that provide feedback, and we try to adjust. Okay. So basically, nothing is done completely. Nothing is wrong, but nothing is right.
So if I'm a startup that really wants to go international, I go back to my initial question, should I worry about taking 331 money?
It's not that you should worry. You should understand that in spending the amount of money that you need to spend, you need to be very specific. You need to declare precisely how it's going to be spent. Okay? And if we feel as fund manager that it's not in line with the central bank directives, we have to get the approval from the central bank. Basically, that's it. Okay? Now, to go back to the second part of the question, I did not forget that one. That
I was going to get
entrepreneurs say that we're not risk takers. I have
especially
to
be precise, especially the funds that are backed by 331.
Yeah, I mean most of the funds, 90% today are backed by 331. Okay, first of all, the funds, they took money from the banks. The banks took money from the central bank, and this is all public money because it's used through, it's financed through the Bond du Trésor, right? So
Treasury bonds.
Treasury bonds. So we all have to be careful because this is not, I'm not taking money from you and you're free to do whatever you want. So first of all, the governance, the reporting is something very, very strict. And the second part is that, more and more, the quality of the business plan is improving. But then again, you have entrepreneurs that come and say, okay, this is my idea, and this is what I want to do, and please give me money for that. And this is not enough. It's definitely not enough. We need to have a very clear business plan. We need to have a very clear understanding of how the company is going to be managed. And you cannot just say, give me money. You have to say, you know, be very specific, put a business plan, put some projections, and we're going to give you the money based on the projections that you've giving us, and we're going to monitor that. So you need to provide us the tools, and you need to provide us the documents, so we are sure that whatever you said you're going to be doing. Okay. Now we all understand that, you know, entrepreneurs change. They change the business plan along the way and so on, and we accept that as VCs. But we also need to interpret those changes into something that the central bank and the banks understand as well. It's not a matter of just saying that, you know, there is a change. We have to justify sometimes why, you know, the entrepreneurs change course. We're here to, if you want, bridge between the mindset of the entrepreneur and the mindset of an institution such as the central bank. So to come and say we don't take risk, we took lots of risks so far. And we failed in some of the companies, or the companies have failed. And it's the proof that we took risk, okay? So saying in the mutlaq, no, we don't take risks is very wrong.
And in the fund managing teams,
yes,
do you feel, and I'm talking here to Maroun Chammas, the entrepreneur himself,
yes, yes.
Do you feel you have the talents, not just Berytech, again, the whole VC community, we have the talents who understand entrepreneurship and the challenges of entrepreneurship in managing these funds?
Absolutely. This I'm 100% certain. The fund managers today, maybe there are, I think, 12 or 14 companies or 14 fund managements. Those are top people. I can vouch for that personally, okay? I did not meet, or we don't sit with any fund without having around the table professional people. Now, the nature of the business, again and again and again, the nature of the business is a risky business. It's called venture capital, okay? And we have to understand that. We have to accept that there will be miserable failures, okay? And there will be people that will be successful. As long as the success of one company covers up for the fund and for the investment, then we're all home free and everybody will be smiling. But we need time, we need to put lots of efforts, and we need also to give to the entrepreneur the flexibility that he's looking for. So we can't just, you know, hammer him all day long and to the point where he's unable to work properly.
What do we need to change or to enhance in that ecosystem today? Regulation, lack of talent, funding, early stage funding maybe, follow-on funding. I mean, where, I'm sure that it's a little bit of everything, but where do you think the major problems are, and where are the easy wins? I mean, there's never easy wins,
Okay.
but the quick wins.
First of all, we need time. Okay, time is essential. This ecosystem has been, if you want, working for the last 4 years, let's say, okay? It needs time. Look at other places. Look at Silicon Valley, how long it has been since, you know, they got to the point where they are today. Look at France, look at Germany, look at England, okay? It doesn't happen overnight. And when I say overnight is, 3-4 years is overnight. It doesn't happen overnight. We're going to need another 3 to 5 years, okay, for the ecosystem to start really producing things that are, what expectations of people.
Big wins.
So this is the first one. We need, obviously, more accuracy in terms of entrepreneurs. They need to be more accurate. They need also to set their expectations to the flavor of the people who are providing the money, which is the central bank, okay, through the central bank. Yani, they cannot do. They have to cut their projects need to be cut by pieces. Okay, they see maybe sometimes the global view, and they want immediately everything and the money and everything else and the team but they need to start cutting. Okay, their if you want the lifespan of the venture into modules that can digest and they can deliver at the same time. So I will give you a concrete example. Today, if somebody comes and say, okay, I have this idea, and I'm going to be needing $5 million to develop it, okay? And I'm going to need 3 years. Fine. It's a very normal, very acceptable way of thinking. But we're going to tell that person, okay, you need 3 years and $5 million. You're going to start cutting the 3 years into 3 months and the $5 million into $300,000 to $500,000. We need to start seeing, we need to have milestones along the way. You cannot tell us, give me the money and I'll come back in 3 years. You need to tell us, give me $500,000 and every 3 months
I'll get these KPIs.
I have these KPIs. So this cutting and formatting, this is what I think is going to be required. And the central bank, I can assure you, from all the meetings that we've had with the central bank, they are very receptive. And the governor himself, he wants really to push hard. He believes in the digital economy. He believes into, entrepreneurs in Lebanon and so on and so forth. Because we've had some good success stories so far. Okay, now those success stories did not, end up producing unicorns, but they're on the right track. So we have to give them time, and we have to support them, and we have to recognize that the entrepreneurs in Lebanon are good people, and they are they're producing good results.
So you're optimistic.
I'm confident. I'm definitely confident, but we have to give time. Time is essence.
What advice, and we're coming to an end of this interview, but if you had to give a few advices to the entrepreneurs, what would you say out there?
Okay. We need to work together because at the end of the day, we have the entrepreneurs. We have the banks, because we take the money through the banks. We have the management teams of the funds. We have the central bank, and we have the public opinion, okay? We have to work all together. By the way, I wanted to tell you something. I don't want to forget about that. So these people, they need to work together. We cannot say, at the end of the day, who gives the money tells you how he wants things. So, we can't just say, forget about them. We have to say, okay, we understand what you want. We're going to make it as smooth and as simple as possible. But also don't make our life too hard. If you make our life too hard, it's not going to be worth, the exercise. If you make it so complicated, and then it becomes, unmanageable. We don't want to do that. One thing I want to conclude was that I'm part of a group called the MIT REAP, Regional Entrepreneur Accelerator Program. So we go to MIT and we learn, from MIT and how things are done and so on and so forth. And we were at the Prime Minister's office just a couple of weeks ago. And, he was saying that we need to do something, the economy, we have serious problems and so on and so on. We want some bold move, some bold decision. And I said, okay, what we need to do, we need to organize or you need to create, the Prime Minister, you need to create a council for innovation and entrepreneurship. And he looked at me, he said, it's not bold enough. I want to create a ministry of innovation and entrepreneurship. And I jumped to what he was saying, and I said, I was actually going to propose that, but I didn't want to come, with such a big, idea. And he said, yes, why not? I mean, tell us, tell me what needs to be done. What are the components of such a ministry? Because why I'm saying that? I'm saying that because, to have a good ecosystem, you need 5 pillars. 5 pillars. You have government, you have education, you have corporation, you have banks, and you need the entrepreneurs. You need those 5 to have a successful, ecosystem. And those 5, they need to talk together. If they don't talk together, you have failure, because each one has a responsibility. So whether the education, the government, the entrepreneurs, the banking, and the corporation, because the corporation they fund and so on and so forth. So this ecosystem, if we are able to upgrade Lebanon to the level where this ecosystem want to be successful, we need to have this in place. Whether it's a ministry, whether it's a council, whether it's anything you want, but we need to start talking together, the 5 pillars, and we need to have one body that collects the information and disseminates it back. We don't want each one talking alone or each one talking within his own group, okay? We need to have this together.
It's probably one of the sectors in Lebanon where there is probably the most collaboration
We need
as
more,
an ecosystem.
more
We still need
collaboration.
lots of it. And on these 5 pillars and beautiful collaboration word, we end this interview.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much,
for hosting me.
Maroun, and see you next time.